My parents dumped my son at a police station, now they're screaming. What did you do? While I was working overseas, my parents hit me with an ultimatum. Either cover my brother's $160,000 debt, or they'd abandon my son. At first, I figured they were just being dramatic until they actually left him outside a police station with a note. It read, "Unwanted. Father lives abroad." But before I dive into all that, let me say this, I've noticed the channel's been slowing down a bit lately. If you're here and you like these stories, hitting that subscribe button is the easiest way to show support. It's fast, it's free, and it really helps keep this community growing strong. Then they went as far as wiping every trace of me from their home. I didn't bother calling. I just smiled to myself and started putting together a ruthless plan. That plan kicked off yesterday. Now they're the ones sobbing, begging, asking, "What did you do? You're tearing this family apart." When I signed a 2-year work contract overseas, I never imagined I'd come back to something out of a nightmare. I'm 34, a single dad to my 5-year-old son, Caleb. His mom took off before he was even born, and I've been raising him with what I thought was support from my parents. Or at least, I believed they were supporting us. In 2023, I landed a high-paying job out in Singapore. It felt like the break I'd been waiting for, not just to climb out of debt, but to give Caleb a better shot at life than I ever had. I asked my parents, both in their mid-60s, if they'd take care of Caleb while I was gone. They didn't hesitate. In fact, they insisted. "We'll raise him like he's our own," my mom said. "You just focus on building your future." So I did. Every month, I sent money. A lot of it. I covered their mortgage, paid off their car, and wired over $2,000 a month specifically for Caleb's needs. I FaceTimed him every weekend, sent packages and surprise gifts, even booked birthday trips. I truly believed I was doing everything right. Then about 6 months ago, something shifted. Our calls got colder. I saw less and less of Caleb's face on the screen. Instead, it was a lot of "he's busy" or "he's out with friends." My gut started tightening, but I was buried under deadlines and pulling 12-hour shifts, so I brushed it off. That is, until I got an email from my mother. Just one cold sentence: "Send $160,000 to cover your brother's debt, or we'll have no choice but to get rid of the boy." My brother, Ryan, 32, the family favorite, has always had that slick charm. He's reckless, hooked on gambling, and addicted to terrible choices. He's been in debt before, but this time felt different. Heart pounding, I called right away. "What the hell is this?" I asked. My dad picked up, sounding eerily calm. "It's time you stop pretending," he said. "Caleb's not our problem. We did you a favor. Now it's your turn. Help your brother or figure out what to do with your kid. Because we won't." I thought they were bluffing, just trying to manipulate me. I didn't respond. I needed time to think. Time to come up with a strategy. But I was already too late. 3 days later, I got a call from Child Protective Services. This is how they tracked me down. Officers found Caleb standing alone in the rain outside a police station. He had a soaked piece of paper tucked into his coat pocket. The note read, "Unwanted. Father lives abroad. Name unknown." But Caleb kept repeating my name, first, last, spelling it out clearly. I taught him that from the start. Always know your name. Always remember your dad's full name. Say Singapore if you're ever in trouble, I used to tell him. Just in case. CPS ran a check. Despite my parents' best efforts to erase me, they forgot one critical detail: school and medical forms. I was still listed as the legal guardian. My overseas phone number was right there, verified through the embassy and his passport. That's how my phone lit up at 4 a.m. Groggy, I answered. "Mr. Callahan, this is Child Protective Services. We have your son. He's safe, but we need to talk." I got on a plane that same night. When I showed up at my parents' house the next day, Caleb wasn't there. Of course not. CPS had temporarily placed him in emergency foster care until I arrived. But what really hit me was the house. It looked like I'd never existed. No family photos. Nothing Caleb ever made. Even my old bedroom had been turned into a walk-in closet. When I rang the bell, my mom opened the door with a blank stare, like I was a stranger. "We told you what we needed," she said coldly. "And you made your choice." I didn't respond. Not when she called me selfish. Not when my dad appeared and muttered, "You should have stayed gone." Not even when Ryan strolled out behind them, smirking like he'd won the jackpot. I just smiled. Because I already knew exactly what I was going to do. And yesterday, I set it all in motion. Caleb didn't even crack a smile when I picked him up. He didn't smile the way he used to. Not even a flicker. He held a tiny plastic dinosaur in one hand and stared right through me, eyes blank, like he was still hoping someone else would show up. I knelt beside him, gently took his hand, and fought back the lump in my throat. The CPS caseworker stood nearby, keeping a watchful eye, though even she looked rattled by what she was seeing. He hadn't said much since they found him. I brought him straight to a hotel. There was no way I could bring him back into the house I once called home, not after what they did. That first night, he curled up in the corner of the bed, not beside me. He slept with one eye open like he didn't feel safe. The next morning, I made a call to my lawyer back in Singapore. I laid everything out. By midday, I had a US-based attorney on board and a legal roadmap in front of me. Caleb was legally mine, there was no question, but I wasn't taking any chances. I wanted everything locked down. Legal protections, documentation, trails of evidence. This wasn't just about picking up the pieces. I was laying the groundwork for a war. For the next week, I kept things quiet. No social media, no texts, no noise. I ignored every email my parents sent once they realized I was back in the States. When Ryan tried calling from a number I didn't recognize, acting like we could talk it out, I let it ring. Instead, I filed for emergency relocation and full, permanent custody. I let Caleb's school know he wouldn't be coming back. Not while they were connected to this mess. Then I filed a civil lawsuit. Not just for child abandonment, but for financial exploitation. Every dollar I'd wired over for Caleb's care? I tracked it, categorized it, weaponized it. While Caleb slept, I worked. I built a private digital archive, a fortress of proof. Photos, screenshots, text threads, voicemails, bank receipts from my monthly deposits. Even breakdowns of how they'd actually spent the money, designer bags, casino cash-outs, and the down payment on Ryan's car. I dug up a message my dad sent to a buddy months ago, laughing about how their financial idiot son was footing the bill for everything. He thought being overseas meant I was blind. But distance didn't dull me, it sharpened my focus. Meanwhile, Caleb slowly started finding his way back. He smiled, really smiled, for the first time after we spent the afternoon at a small science museum downtown. At 3 a.m. one night, he asked for pancakes, and I made them right then and there. He began sleeping through the night again, his head tucked against my chest. He never mentioned them. And I didn't bring them up either. But the silence was heavy. Every time he jumped at the sound of a door slamming or asked if I was leaving again for a long time, it only strengthened my resolve. This wasn't just about what they did. It was about the choices they made, who they decided to protect, and who they were willing to discard. They didn't just give up on Caleb. They threw him out like yesterday's trash. And I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't showing up on their doorstep to confront them. I wasn't giving them the satisfaction of hearing my voice again. Instead, I was going to dismantle everything they'd built around their lives, quietly, piece by piece. Because sometimes, the loudest thing you can do is disappear and let the truth speak for itself. They underestimated me. The first crack in their foundation started with a whisper. Years ago, my father had made me the co-signer and administrator on his pension account, a detail he clearly forgot in his arrogance. I legally froze the account, citing misuse of funds. By the time he noticed, the review board had already launched an investigation into possible fraud. Then Ryan's car vanished. It got repossessed next. I never touched the vehicle myself. All I did was submit a tidy little file to the credit agency, ownership history, financial trails, and proof of offshore payments I traced back to the account. Turns out they'd funneled my money through the wrong channels. The system flagged it. The car was taken in broad daylight, right in front of their neighbors. After that, their home utilities began to flicker out. I'd set up all their autopay accounts years ago under my name, electric, water, internet, all of it. So I canceled every one of them. When they tried to call the providers, they hit a wall. Everything required my authorization. If they wanted things turned back on, they'd have to start from scratch and fast. But the damage was already on record. Delinquencies were documented. And the best part? Nothing I did crossed any legal lines. No shouting. No doorsteps. No threats. I just quietly reclaimed what was mine, every piece they thought I'd forgotten. Then came the paperwork. Formal letters announcing the civil lawsuit, financial abuse of a minor. An audit notice from the IRS followed shortly after, triggered by suspicious gift reports. And Ryan? He got slapped with a subpoena over a fraud charge tied to a bogus loan. A loan he took out in my name 3 years back, thinking I'd never catch it. But I had the receipts. Literal ones, copies, records, everything backed up. I didn't hide my name on a single document. I wanted them to know exactly who was unraveling their neat little world. And word spread fast. Our community talks. People started whispering. Friends stopped coming around. Those fancy invites they loved to toss out, barbecues, Sunday service, charity auctions, they all dried up. They became outcasts. Not suddenly. Slowly, deliberately, exactly how I planned it. The only time I broke the silence was when I spoke to the bank. I filed to reclaim the title on their home. Not because I wanted to move in, but because I legally owned it. That down payment? My money. I had the documents to prove it, the notarized paperwork, the 6-year-old confirmation email, every stamp and signature. My lawyer handled it. They were given 90 days to vacate. That's when the tone changed. Their messages shifted from smug to frantic. I ignored every single one, even when the voicemails turned desperate. My mom crying, my dad begging, Ryan ranting. Then came the final text. You're destroying the family. I stared at those words for a long while. Then I powered off my phone. Because the truth was, there was no family left to destroy. They made sure of that the moment they left my son standing in the rain outside a police station, like he didn't matter. Everything after that? That wasn't revenge. That was just the fallout. 3 weeks passed quietly. I kept Caleb close. We had slow breakfasts in tucked-away cafes, wandered by the harbor, read stories under soft lamps at night. His laughter started coming back, still cautious, but real. We stayed in a no-frills hotel, paid for through layered transfers. No name attached. No guests allowed. Only my legal team knew where we were. I thought I'd sealed every crack. Until kindness slipped through one. I enrolled Caleb in a small transitional school. Standard forms. Routine check-ins. But a substitute teacher confirmed his attendance to a concerned grandmother over the phone. That's how they found us. A few days later, a woman came to the hotel, crying. No name. Just family. I didn't go to the door. Security escorted her out. Later, I reviewed the camera footage, her cardigan, her folder, the tears. And somehow it didn't feel like revenge anymore. It just felt like the end of something. The next morning, I finalized the house transfer. Ryan had vanished. My parents were holed up in some roadside motel. And their former home? I donated it to a youth shelter. That night, Caleb looked up at me and said, Dad, clear, confident. And in that moment, I knew I hadn't burned a bridge. I had erased it. 6 months later, we've started fresh, 2 states away. Small, quiet town. Cozy house, tucked inside a trust. No names on the mailbox. No digital trail. Caleb's got a dog now. Kind of wiry. Super loyal. Bit of a rascal. They run through the yard like nothing ever touched them. Like fear never found them. He doesn't really talk about the past. Not much. Just little things, cold chairs at the station. The tired eyes of the woman who found him. He never talks about his grandparents. And honestly, he doesn't have to. Some things are better left unspoken. I work in cybersecurity now. Fully remote. Quiet. Off the grid on purpose. Every couple of weeks, I take a look through the court records, just to stay updated. Their visitation request? Denied. Turns out, when you abandon a child, you lose the right to ever ask for one back. As for Ryan, he disappeared. Which somehow feels exactly right. The house? It's no longer theirs, it's a shelter now. There's a mural painted on one side of it, full of color and hope. Kids sleep in warm beds inside, not parked in cold cars. I drove by once. Only once. These days, Caleb sleeps with his door slightly open. Not out of fear, just comfort. Because now he can. Last week, his teacher gave me a call. Said he'd written a story in class about a superhero dad. One who fights dragons and builds castles that no one can break. She got choked up reading it. I told her I understood. We're not perfect. But we're safe. And that counts for everything. No one knows where we are. And that's the way it needs to stay. It was just past sunset. Caleb had dozed off on the couch, crayon still in his little hand. He'd fallen asleep mid-drawing again. Paper resting on his chest. A simple picture of a small house, a dog, a boy, and a stick-figure dad standing in a patch of yellow sun. I stepped out onto the porch for a breath of air. The breeze was light, and the porch light buzzed low behind me. That's when my phone lit up. Blocked number. I didn't even flinch. Let it ring. Then turned it off for good as I walked back inside. I looked at our front door. Solid oak, deadbolt clicked shut, reinforced frame. And then I looked at Caleb. And that's when it hit me. That phone call, that number, the past. None of it could reach us anymore. Because we weren't hiding. We were protected. And they weren't kept out by accident. They were locked out on purpose. I picked up Caleb, carried him to his bed, tucked the blankets around him. Then I flipped the light switch. That moment? That was the last time they ever tried to reach us. And the first moment we were truly, completely free.